Thank you for joining Pioneer. I'm Chris with Norman Public Library Central, and this is the second video in our series on the Swift computer programming language. In our first video, we learned about the var keyword. We used var to store information in variables, which we later printed out with the print command. At the end of our last lesson, I left you with a challenge, and that challenge was to store information about yourself in several variables, and then use the print command to print those variables out. Here's my solution to that challenge. I stored 3 pieces of information about myself: my name, my title, and my email. And then I used the print command to print out a couple of lines and my variables, and then also the address of the Norman Public Library Central. When I run my code, I get this fancy business card down here, and it's amazing. Hopefully your business card is much more amazing than mine and has pictures of puppies and rainbows and unicorns. No? Well, maybe next time. Let's create a new Swift playground to get started today. For today's lesson, we don't need any of the pre-existing code, so I'll delete all of those lines. Today we're going to learn about a new kind of variable called an array. Computer programmers use arrays all the time because we like to store many different items and then operate on each one of them sequentially. Let me show you how that works. We'll create a variable using our var keyword, just like we did in our previous lesson, and I'll call this variable best foods, because we're going to make a list of the best foods. I will set it equal to, and now things are going to change up. Instead of just typing my list of foods, I need to put that list of foods in square brackets. Your square bracket key is in the upper right-hand corner of your keyboard. It looks like that. Now I'm going to begin typing out a list of the best foods. Well, the best food obviously is pizza, so let's add that one first. And then after pizza, outside the double quote but still inside the square brackets, I'll type a comma, and then I can type the next food in double quotes. And let's add one more favorite food. So I have a list of 3 of the best foods. If you want, you can print this out the same way that we printed out our variables yesterday. When I do that, I get a list that looks exactly like what I typed in originally, and that's not very useful to me, so I'm going to delete that line of code. What I want to do now is use a loop to go through each one of the individual items in my best foods array and print them out one at a time. Let me show you how that works. We're going to use what's called a for loop. So I type the word for, F-O-R, and now I have to make up a name that's going to refer to each one of those individual foods. I'm going to call it food. And then I say for food in best foods, and then I need a curly brace. Swift is even reminding me that I need to put a curly brace. A curly brace is the same button that you use to get the square bracket, but hold down the shift key. So I type a curly brace, and then I'm going to press return to get myself a new line. And as soon as I do that, Swift is going to add the closing curly brace and give me a blank line that is indented. I'm always going to indent the code in between my curly braces. It makes it much easier to read later on. Now, I can print out my individual foods one at a time. If I run this code, now I get a printout that says pizza, chocolate, and cheese one at a time on each line. And it looks much nicer. But I'd actually like to take it a step further. I don't want to just print pizza. I want to print pizza is awesome. So I'm going to delete the word food from my print statement, and I'm going to begin by typing exactly that. Pizza is awesome. Maybe I'll even spell awesome correctly. If I run my code now, however, what I wind up with is 3 copies of pizza is awesome. And while it's true all 3 times, I don't really want it to print out pizza is awesome every time. I'd like it to print pizza is awesome, and then chocolate is awesome, and then cheese is awesome. So instead of putting the word pizza here, I'll double click on pizza and delete it, but I'm going to leave that space and I'm going to add a backslash. The backslash is in the upper right-hand corner of your keyboard, and then a parenthesis and the word food and a close parenthesis. Those parentheses are Shift 9 and Shift 0 if you have never typed those before. So now it says slash parenthesis food parenthesis space is awesome. That's code that tells the computer to replace that slash food with whatever food it's working on right now. So when I run this code, it prints out pizza is awesome, chocolate is awesome, and cheese is awesome. If you use different foods, then yours printed out differently than mine. Congratulations, you've now learned 2 major computer programming concepts, the idea of an array and the idea of a for loop. We use both of these things all the time as we write our computer code. This week's challenge is to use arrays and a for loop to print out that each member of your family is amazing. So make an array that has everyone in your family, and then use a for loop to print out that each one of those people is amazing. Your code will look just like this code, except you'll replace best foods with family members. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time.